and we are back with another episode of IPL Insights, and we will be covering all the matches of the last week, and we will be giving you stats, reports, and analysis of all the events that happened. So let's directly jump into the first match that we will be talking about. The Kolkata Knight Riders took on the Kings 11 Punjab at Abu Dhabi. So that was a wonderful match. KKR setting up 162, Kingston Punjab coming up so close again. So Raghav, what do you feel? KXIP, many people are telling they are cursed. They are, they have a lack of luck and stuff. But do you really feel they have lack of luck, or is it lack of connectivity or something that is hindering their performance?
Well, Sushant, yeah, of course, as we've all been talking about how Kings 11 are a potential team. They're a good team this season, but they haven't been able to get along well. So we've observed the last 8 matches they've played. Most of the matches were so close that we all feel bad for them. And we think, yeah, I mean, they might have been unlucky this season, but end of the day, when we talk about T20 cricket, it's not just about luck. There's always some proportion of your team or probably the way you play. There's some executions that go wrong, eventually in you missing it out. And I feel for Kings 11, it happens to be the death, the middle order batsman. We saw the wonderful start KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal gave. They're probably the two highest run scorers. They're contending for the orange cap. But why aren't they able to score runs? Why aren't they able to finish matches? That's simply because of the middle order. We saw probably 20 runs of 2 overs or 1 over. I'm not sure of the equation in such a low scoring match, or probably a middle average scoring match. It's not supposed to get to such a scenario. They're supposed to start off with an explosive start. They're supposed to get going, and they're supposed to finish it off well. They dragged it on until the end. The openers gave a good start, but I don't think the middle order batsmen were able to capitalize on it, which went to a very close end. Probably it was very unlucky for Maxwell. It was almost supposed to be a six, but it probably missed by an inch or two.
That's very true. It was 20 for 12, as you mentioned. And Prasid Krishna, wonderful pre final over. He just gave 6 runs of it and two amazing, important wickets. So I feel that was a game changer for KKR. And also, Raghav, what do you feel about KKR's batting performance? They have been very fluctuating. One match, they come up with a really good batting performance. In the other match, they have a lackluster performance. So, what do you have to say about KKR's batting overall?
Well, so should we initially spoke about how Narayan must be put aside for some time, or probably be sent in the middle order for batting, and probably until he gets his form, he could probably come back and start opening for KKR. But I feel KKR did a good move by putting Narayan at two down at that point in time. But I don't know. KKR has not been okay, like Rahul Tripathi opened the game against Chennai Super Kings. He got a good score of probably 70 odd runs, but I don't think Rahul Tripathi was able to capitalize after it. He wasn't able to use that good start to his IPL this time and keep going. Instead, it was Shubman Gill who kept anchoring the innings. And after Shubman Gill, it was a continuous string of low scores for KKR. So what I felt was that KKR's the probably one down, two down, and three down needs to get a little bit stronger. Needs to start analyzing the pitch well and stay a little more so that their depth becomes more friendly for them in scoring runs. And one more point that I'd like to mention over here is that I feel Dinesh Karthik has to open the innings. They need to try something new with Dinesh Karthik, because Dinesh Karthik this season, he's been taking some time to settle down and play his innings. So probably if he opens the innings, since he's a really good stroke player, I feel he could probably take some time and probably get going once it's like between seventh over to 12th over. But if he's going to come in at two down and three down, then I don't think he's going to get that time, which is eventually going to stop him from showing his true IPL potential.
That's 100% true. Dinesh Karthik batting up the orders, helping KKR in a lot of ways, and I hope they realize it and send him up the order so that he can get his time before he starts smashing those shots. We know how well he can play, and we are all witnesses of his amazing performance against Bangladesh when he was batting for India, and he won the match for us. So I hope he repeats something of that kind and helps KKR in their upcoming flow. So moving on to the next match. So I would like to ask Vamsi Anna about many people feel there is a problem in CSK's current style of batting. lot of players are taking up too much balls to get stable, and the pressure is on some people to score too much too quickly. So what do you feel is happening in the KKR dugout?
No, as MS Dhoni himself mentioned at the post-match interview, he said some players took too many balls to get going and left too less to score for the middle order batsman to score many runs. So it is not a good sign. You see, Mr. Virat Kohli, he played really well. Actually, he was scoring at around 120, 130 strike rate, but he was not taking up any dot balls. So he was rotating the strike well. He was giving the strike to other batsmen so that they can capitalize on scoring quick runs. If the wicket goes, the next batsman comes in and starts playing his shots. He was anchoring it. And when he started playing explosively, the score went up automatically and they had a good score on the board. But when CSK were batting, they couldn't get the momentum right again. They lost quick wickets. The openers were sent back cheaply, and the middle order struggled again, and which led to an eventual loss at the end.
Yes, the point about Virat Kohli playing, rotating the strike well is really something to note, because in this match, Mr. Virat Kohli took only 5 dot balls in his 52 ball innings to score 90 runs. So that was exceptional, running between the wickets, not wasting deliveries, vital part of a T20 match. And if you look at many analysts and statisticians giving you data, they tell you there are about 48 to 42 dot balls averaging in an international match. And if you can capitalize on them and get 1 or 2 runs out of it, that will make a huge difference to the match. Vamsi, I am coming back to you with another question. Deepak Chahar came up with an economy of 3.3 against RCB, and Morris was exceptional, 19, 3 wickets. So what can we take out of this encounter? Navdeep Saini was excellent at 4.5. Is it becoming more and more bowler friendly?
Deepak Chahar had good swing at the beginning of the match, so he was lethal. He was at his best. But when Morris and Saini were bowling, the swing was quite less, but they were hitting all the hard lengths with pace at 140 plus clicks. So that is an advantage there, and batsmen find it difficult to get it away. So that helped them to choke the batsman and get the wickets, and which led to their eventual win. So I think the addition of Morris to their squad has helped them very well. So they are benefiting from his presence, and I hope he shows his batting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been a lot of surprises in this IPL, and many bowlers have stepped up to the opportunity and made themselves presentable. Like when we were discussing about the previous week, we were discussing about Jofra Archer with a strike rate of 300 plus, which no one would have expected, and he stepped up, taking up his opportunities very well. So coming to the next match, it was a very interesting match, Sunrisers versus Rajasthan Royals at Dubai. Raghav, I'll directly go attack you with this question. Stokes at number 1. How do you justify that, or do you think there needs to be a change?
Well, see, so as I'd like to say, Sushrat, everything IPL is about trying something new. So we saw how Sunil Narayan used to open for KKR, and then he was put down. He was sent at 2 down or probably 3 down, and or that range, and someone else was brought in. Probably RR wanted to try something new. We saw Steven Smith open the innings in the first few matches for RR, which is something new technically. So I guess RR were trying something new. It didn't work out. So I mean, it's not that they aren't supposed to try something new, but then Ben Stokes is not. Let's analyze the kind of a batsman Ben Stokes is. He's not a stroke player, neither is he nor is he an anchor. He's a hard hitter. When you bring him into the innings, he goes and brings you a good start, and he gets you runs. He gets you the 6s and the 4s. But I feel Ben Stokes coming in at number 1 wasn't really a wise choice. Probably at number 3 or number 4, yes, that would have made sense. But then at number 1, I don't think with the likes of Steven Smith or probably Sanju Samson, I don't think they should have saved Ben Stokes for the end, because he's not a seasoned new ball player. He's not used to playing at that number one spot in the IPL especially. So I feel that decision backfired. But probably if they're going to keep experimenting with Ben Stokes at the top, you never know. Some match he might gain his momentum and he might get a good start for RR at some point in time. So it's all about time. Time might tell us what will happen.
But Riyan Parag, who had been criticized for a long time now, he stepped up and he took up the opportunity which was provided to him. And along with Rahul Tewatia, he was able to score really well. They put up a great partnership which led to their winning. We also saw his amazing dance after the match. So that was something new that Rajasthan Royals, took out of the session. Riyan Parag playing, playing to the extent which he was expected to, and Rahul Tewatia in continuing his amazingly beautiful form, which led to Sunrisers not winning that match. I wouldn't say they lost it, because they fought incredibly hard for the total they had set up. 158 at Dubai is a hard score to defend. You would be looking at something above 170 if you want to be safe. But that was an incredible fight they put up. Really amazing, with Rashid Khan with an economy of 0.25. He has been absolutely astonishing. So going to the next match, once again, I would like to ask you. Shaw was phenomenal at the start of the IPL. He came up with quirky shots and lot of runs in the power play. But recently, of last two matches, I feel Shaw has failed. So what would you say about it? Shaw as an opener.
So when you look at his innings against all the teams till now, when he has been given the width, he slashes hard. So he gets it away to the boundary and he gets his arms free, and the runs start to flow. But when he's clogged down and the lengths are tighter and the hard lengths are bowled, no room is given, he finds it a bit difficult, but he has the urge to score quickly, which leads to mistimed shots and he gets out easily. So I would suggest he slow down. As Ricky Ponting said, he should be patient to score runs. He has the hunger, but he has to grow the patience. And he's planting his left leg, which is resulting in him not playing the ball properly and getting bowled. So small technical details are to be corrected as well. But he's a great player, and I think he'll bounce back.
Yeah, even I have that confidence. And one more question. Mumbai has punch. Oh, not the number 5. I'm talking about Pandya and Chahar. Pancha. Okay, so yeah, they have been phenomenal. They have been absolutely brilliant. Is Mumbai's weakness in terms of what we're talking in the terms of spin? In the first week we discussed, we are talking about Mumbai not having an effective spinning attack. Are Chahar and Pandya doing justice to their role in helping Mumbai out of tough situations?
As you mentioned before the season, we discussed about the weakness of Mumbai spin attack. But they have bowled brilliantly and proved us wrong. So I think I'm happy about it. And Rahul Chahar with his weird run up, and at the end he's bowling it slow and he's bowling with the right recipe to get wickets. So that has helped him. At one end, Krunal Pandya, even if he doesn't get a wicket, he chokes the batsman. He's darting in everything, and they can't get under the ball and smash it out of the ground. That creates pressure, and when Rahul Chahar comes in, he's bowling offensively and he is getting the wickets. So that's a really good combination for Mumbai in the middle overs, which is helping them brilliantly.
Yes, absolutely. So I feel these two people are huge assets to the Indian team as well after the IPL. So hope they continue their good form. And Rabada and Nokia look very scary. I'm really scared about India versus South Africa whenever it happens. I hope Indian batsmen can accommodate to their pace and play properly and get those shots well. But for Delhi Capitals, they are phenomenal. They are hitting the turf very hard. Economy of 7, absolutely astonishing bowling. Going the next match, which was again a very one-sided match, I would say. RCB scoring 192 runs and KKR couldn't even muster 2/3 of the required score. So I have an ethical question regarding here. Do you feel RCB is a kind of team which banks more on confidence rather than the situation. Like whenever they are in a comfortable situation, you see RCB outperforming the teams in phenomenal fashion. But when they are in the competition, I think they feel a bit choked. So what do you feel about RCB's perspective here?
The batting performance of AB de Villiers overshadowed their flaws in that match, I would say, because they were scoring a bit slowly. And he came in and he brought in the momentum for them, and that was a phenomenal innings. As Kohli said, only ABD can play such an innings in a two-paced pitch like that. So hadn't he played well, they would have been in a spot of bother. But where they were lacking was their bowling, which has been improving a lot than the previous season. So they are not losing matches which were in their grasp. So the addition of Chris Morris again has been vital, and he's been bowling well. And he, along with Saini, are bowling in tandem and making batsmen find it difficult to score runs freely. So that is a good partnership. For example, the batting partnership of Kohli and ABD dominates the opposition. I think the bowling partnership of RCB here is dominating the opposition.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what do you have to say about KKR's batting collapse? I would call it an absolute collapse. And one more opinion, Tripathi coming down at 7. Was it a bad call?
Absolutely. With Narain going out of the team, I knew the balance would be a problem. I expected them to bring Lockie Ferguson or some other bowler to bolster their bowling, which has been on and off misfiring. But they brought in Tom Banton, which again caused a change in their order, and which resulted in their batting collapse again. So they have to stick to an order wherein they accommodate other players, which does not disturb the opening combination.
True that, true that. We know Brendan McCullum is a quirky coach with a lot of brilliant ideas, but I feel at a point of time you must settle down for at least one typical form of batting. Even if your middle order is flexible, your top order must be fixed. It must not be so liquid that the opposition cannot even guess who the batsmen are going to be. And again, Gill has to adapt to all kinds of batsmen, explosive batsmen, defensive batsmen. So he'll have to play different roles at different points of time, which is a bit tough to expect out of a very young player, but he has been doing well. Let's expect more things out of him. Going to the next match, very interesting match. CSK versus SRH. CSK won the match to the, making a lot of CSK fans happy. And Raghav, a question for you. Is SRH too much reliant on Kane Williamson's batting?
Well, Sushruth, we all know how SRH has portrayed David Warner to be the hero. If you are to call it in a very normal and simplified term, they value him and they value Bairstow as well. So I feel Kane Williamson is again another respected player at Sunrisers Hyderabad, but I don't think the Sunrisers batting lineup, at least on paper, I don't think they're really reliant on Kane Williamson. Probably it's because of the last 2 to 3 matches they have played. Bairstow and Warner. I've kept repeating Bairstow and Warner, even though they've been scoring runs, they haven't got to really, really good starts in the power play. If you analyze the strike rate, it's very normal strike rate. It's between 110 to 100, 105 to 115, which is usually not what you would expect in a power play scenario. You would expect a batsman to go out full and bash the bowlers in a power play, because that's your only, I wouldn't say only, but that's your main and primary chance to score your runs. So I don't think Sunrisers openers have capitalized in those scenarios, leading to pressure at the end. So at the end, when Kane Williamson comes in, he's a great player. His caliber itself speaks for himself, and his quality. He scores his runs eventually. It makes it look as though the entire team and the entire batting unit is dependent on Kane Williamson. But I don't think on paper they're really dependent on him. It's just that the opening batsmen need to get that crackling start. They need to go out in the power play itself, so that the run distribution among all the players is equal, and that they don't get pressurized at the end. And Kane Williamson, he'll be able to perform better than what he's doing right now. So in this specific match, he scored 57 or 58 runs. That was a huge pressure relief for Sunrisers at one point in time, until he got out, of course. But I don't think it's fair to call Kane Williamson the only dependent player. I mean, I don't think Sunrisers is really dependent on him, but then he is a major part of the team, which is why he was brought in place of Mohammad Nabi a couple of weeks ago.
So as you said, Warner and Bairstow need to start going and hitting hard against the bowlers as they did in the previous season. I hope they do start entertaining the people more, I would say, with their absolutely amazing performance, which they can produce because of their absolutely, amazing talent arsenal that they have, short selection arsenal that they have. And Raghav, one more question. CSK played two gambles against SRH. One was batting first after winning the toss, and the other was gambles pay for CSK.
Yeah, of course, Sushrit. I also spoke during the SRH and RR match about how teams have gambled and how teams have tried something new. And in this specific match for CSK, both their gambles have turned out successful. Like, of course, CSK has been the team which has scored the lowest runs during the power play. So they needed someone to come in and probably, even though Curran took some time, probably an over or two to settle down, he was able to score that quick 31 runs and get CSK going. So that Shane Watson and later on Rayudu and Dhoni were able to come in and they were able to capitalize on that excellent start given by Sam Curran at the beginning. So I feel that was a really good move by CSK to bring in Sam Curran as an opener. And as far as the batting first notion is concerned, I'm really happy that MSD has somehow managed to get out of that preconceived mindset that chasing is the only way out for CSK. Because at this point in time, CSK's batsmen need to be relieved of that pressure, and that'll only happen if they bat first, where they'll be able to enjoy their cricket, enjoy their batting. And since their bowling seems to be really good and strong, as we witnessed against SRH, their bowling Sam Curran, Dwayne Bravo, Deepak Chahar, and Karan Sharma as well. They've proven themselves. They've been really good. So I feel they'll be able to absorb the pressure better if they bowl in the second innings. So I feel this gamble of batting first and then letting their opposition chase has been a really good one for Chennai. And I feel they should capitalize on this opportunity and keep using this stage to keep progressing further in the tournament.
Absolutely. A lot of people have been comparing with the 2012 season, the 2010 season, where they were at the bottom and they came up quite well. A lot of people are excited on social media. This picture has been circulating all over the internet, and CSK fans want CSK to, come again into the playoffs as they always have. So, going to the next match, the Delhi Capitals versus the Rajasthan Royals. Vamsena, how have injuries impacted the Delhi Capitals?
Their bench strength is very good, but the continuity is missing. When good players who are contributing well are out due to injury, it affects the balance of the side. So that hasn't been good for them. They have lost Amit Mishra, Ishant Sharma, and Ravi Ashwin briefly, and he has come back and he's played really well. But again, an injury to Pant and Shreyas Iyer injuring himself during the match are not a good sign. So they need their captain at most. So I hope they come back out of this and they're able to perform well. And their bowling has been fairy as usual. The opposition is put to the test and they find it difficult. Even though Butler smashed Nokia for a good amount of runs, he came back and he got his wicket. So that shows their intent to win the game.
Yes, brilliant. Nokia was amazing. Ashwin was amazing, as you told. I feel Rajasthan Royals, in some perspective, failed to capitalize on the amazing start they got. Stokes for 41, Butler 9 balls, 22. But again, there was a slower middle order playing. Uttappa took 27 balls for his 32. Tivatia 18 balls for his 14. They should have stepped up and, if they had played a bit better, Rajasthan Royals should have easily won this match. They made it. They choked in the middle overs, and which cost them the match in the end. So moving to the next match, RCB versus KXIP, which is the pre-final match we'll be talking about,
Sure.
which happened at Sharjah.
1 second. You've been asking all of us questions. So I feel it's time we ask you a couple of questions about this match, because considering the nature of this match and how interesting it was, we feel if you're going to elaborate about this, we might as well ask you a couple of questions. So I have one question for you over here. Starting from the end of the match as a new trend, let's, instead of going from the beginning, let's go from the end. How much do you think Chahal's dream over, the final over that he bowled against Punjab, was effective against Punjab in making it a nail-biting finish? That match gave us all a heart. in blunt terms, it gave us a heart attack, that match. It went up to the last ball. It was like 2 runs of 6 balls. It went to 1 of 1, and then it was a very, very nail biting finish. And even Preeti Zinta gave out a comment saying that it was a very, very nail biting finish. And then such heart attacks, she hoped that such heart attacks wouldn't be given to her in the future by a team. So how much do you think that over mattered for RCB?
Yeah, that was a dream over for Yuzvendra Chahal, as you told. If he had defended that score, he would have been the hero of the day for RCB. No one would have been more happier at that moment than the RCB owners and the captain Virat Kohli. 2 from 6, and he brought it till the last over with the likes of players like Chris Gale playing. That was absolutely amazing to watch. He bowled 2 balls wide of the off stump, and they turned and came in, and Gale was surprised, absolutely. He was looking at the bowler and saying, okay, it was going outside. How did it come inside? So that was one brilliant move by Chahal. And the wicket of Chris Gale again resulted in, Nicholas Pooran playing the last ball, 1 needed. I feel he pulled a hero there, trying to hit a 6 of the last ball. If I were there, I would have, pushed it off for a single or something. He became the 7th batsman to do the same, hit a 6 of the last ball. He emerged out a hero, but just imagine if it had been a wicket, if it had been a catch. So that would have been disastrous for KXIB, and KXIB have this, trend of losing matches which are in their captivity all the time. So that was one good thing that happened for KXIP. They took it to the last ball. Preeti Zinta was absolutely shocked. She was looking as though, okay, even this match is gone, and then Pooran hit a 6 of the last ball. So that was absolutely amazing to watch. One of the best overs of Yuzvendra Chahal to have bowled in the entire season.
Completely true. It was very, even Pooran had mentioned in one of his post-match comments, he was also very clear that he would never want to face such a scenario for Kings 11 Punjab in the future. As not just Preeti Zinta or the fans, even the cricketers who were in the dugout were shocked. They were really, really anxious, and it was only that 6 that relieved all of them from Punjab. Else, that continuous stroke of their luck of fate would have kept hitting them. Coming to Gale, since you've mentioned about Gale, what kind of an impact do you think Gale has created in the Kings 11 batting lineup? Do you think it was a good move by KL Rahul to bring in Gale?
Absolutely. I feel it was a very good move to bring in Gale, because the opening partnership was brilliant. It's still brilliant. KL Rahul, Mayank Agarwal. But after both of them, get dismissed or something, then it is completely on the middle order to play, which have been failing to a great extent again and again. We see Prabsimran Singh being given a chance. He is not firing much. So Maxwell has not found his touch. So a player like Chris Gale stepping in the opportunity was absolutely amazing. He scored 53 with a 6 coming off to score his 50. That gave Kings 11 Punjab the much needed confidence to end the match. If not for him, again, I feel they would have been choked for space. Chris Gale gave it free flowing opportunity. While KL Rahul hits the ground, Chris Gale hits the air. So the balance was amazing. Kings 11 Punjab have a great prospect. I don't know whether they will end up in the playoffs, but their future matches are going to be much fun with Gale in the team. So going to the last match that we're going to talk about, Raghav, KKR versus Mumbai Indians. So Gill as an anchor, there was a batting collapse. Gill had to adapt. Lot of problems for the KKR, captaincy change. So did this all affect KKR in a great manner? And one more follow-up question for the Mumbai Indians. They were seamless, flawless. Quinton de Kock, man, 70 plus average in the last 4 matches. Has he found back his touch?
All right. So breaking it into 2 parts, since you mentioned the first part about KKR's collapse due to, okay, they had a captaincy change, of course. So, I mean, we all know how much the team I've been communicating and I've been trying to tell everyone about the team connect, how much the unity matters. And then I don't know why KKR had to resort for a captaincy change. They were 4th on the table. They've been playing good cricket. I feel it was going all well. I don't know why Dinesh Karthik if he was made to give up the captaincy or if he gave it out voluntarily, but I feel that was not a good move for the team momentum, because once a captain changes, the approach changes, the fielding positions change, the way the cricket is played on the field, the momentum, the entire, the way you look at things, the way players play, everything changes. Like A to Z, everything changes with the captain change. Even though the team management remains the same, with Dinesh Karthik coming in as vice captain and then Eoin Morgan taking over as captain, that one single change, I feel that one change could have impacted the entire team. It has the potential to impact the entire team, and it did. And again, as I've mentioned, the KKR batting lineup has been disastrous because they are not able. Shubman Gill is anchoring it every single time. They cannot be dependent on him. If one match he's out, or if he goes for a single digit score, then the entire KKR batting unit goes for a toss. And I feel Andre Russell has not been up to the mark this season. I have no reason why. He's a really good player. We've seen him play really well in the CPL, but then probably this IPL, he has not been able to go up to his mark. And that was a good innings by Pat Cummins, of course. So to finish the first part of your question, I feel the captaincy change did make a lot of difference. But let's see how KKR capitalizes to it, because Eoin Morgan is no less. He's a really good captain. He's captain England, so he has good potential to lead KKR too. Coming to the second part of the question, we all know how good a team MI and their batting is, especially their record at Abu Dhabi. 5 out of 5 wins so far in Abu Dhabi. But the real question that comes in now is that most of their matches are going to be played outside Abu Dhabi. Quinton de Kock, he took his time in the first couple of matches. As you said, 48 runs or something in 4 matches. He took his time, but was later on able to capitalize in the next 4 matches, scoring an average of 70 plus in every match. But then we need to see how he's going to get accustomed to it in the later matches as well. So that is a major point. But I feel Mumbai is going to pull it off eventually to the playoffs, because they're playing as a team, and that's what matters end of the day.
Absolutely. So the situation now after the halfway stage, a few matches after the halfway stage looks phenomenal. Mumbai Indians at the top of the table, Delhi Capitals at the second. So there's a chance for a lot of teams till the position 7 to make it to the playoffs. I would not be surprised if Kings 11 keep playing a good game and they end up in number 4 or something. Uh, there would be a lot of happy fans for KXIP regarding their great performance. So that was a lot of discussion about the last week. I hope we all entertained you regarding what occurred on the field and off the field. So that was a brilliant session of cricket, brilliant week of cricket. We will be coming back to you with more cricket. And this is Raghav Swaminathan, Vamsi Krishnan, and Sushruti Nayak from GT signing off. And we will meet you next week